Hey everybody, it's Greg with RC Driver, and here we are, episode number 17 of our Get Into RC video series. And this particular episode has to deal with where do you drive your RC car? And this came about by an email I received. Somebody asked me if they could drive their buggy out on the street. And yes, absolutely, you could go and drive your buggy on the street. But it brings up a good point of, what are vehicles' intended uses? And can you drive them elsewhere? And this is something I've kind of covered in some of the other videos, but I just wanted to do a standalone dedicated video to give you some tips of where you could drive your RC cars. Maybe you're purchasing one and this comes into play as well, or maybe you have something and you're wondering if you could drive it elsewhere. So hopefully this will answer all of your questions. All right, so let's start off talking about small scale stuff, something like this Team Associated SC28 right here. Obviously, it's a very small car, so it's probably intended to be run indoors, in your living room, in your basement, if you got a finished living room, kitchens, whatever. A lot of fun sliding around on tile floors and stuff like that. It's kind of got a low ride height to it, so, can you bring it outside? Yeah, you can probably bring it out in the driveway and some really low packed dirt and stuff like that. But you just want to kind of consider the height of the vehicle. Can it clear the obstacles that you're looking to go over? So, that's one thing to keep in mind. If you're looking for something specifically indoors, smaller cars such as this, they work great. And even a little bit bigger too, like some of this 18 scale stuff. If you've got a really big living room or a play den, something like that, you could probably drive one of these around. This is a brush version, so it's a little bit slower. But 18 scale, but primarily low unobstructed surfaces. So for like this particular on-road car, this would be great, probably in your paved driveway, open parking lot, tennis courts, basketball courts, stuff like that, where there's not a lot of grit too. That's something else you really need to consider, like driving on-road cars. There's dirt and grime on the ground and the spur gears are exposed. Some of the gears are exposed, or belts or something like that. So you want to keep that in mind too. Could something get damaged if it gets into the drivetrain? So those are all things to consider. Now, a little bit larger monster trucks, they have a little bit more wiggle room to it. They could drive on a little bit higher of a surface. But again, keep in mind the right height of the vehicle. If you want to go out and run this thing on the grass, go bring it over to the grass, plop it down in there, plop it down into the grass. And if the grass comes up to here, well, that's going to be a problem. The reason why that's a problem is grass causes friction. Your vehicle has to drive through that grass. And that grass has resistance to it, and so it's pushing against the car. And what happens is your car is now struggling to get through that. Because it's struggling, it's heating up all the electronic components, and that could cause your electronic components to possibly fail, and that's not something you want to do. So always consider the height of the vehicle in comparison to the type of terrain you're going to be running on. And so here we have an on-road car. Again, on-road cars are pretty much on-road only. This particular car is for carpet racing. But you could go and drive it out in the parking lot again, tennis courts, big flat parking lots. Be mindful of cracks and divots in the parking lots too. You could be flying around with a really fast touring car in a parking lot, and a small gap in the pavement can literally stop that car and maybe damage the chassis or something. So always keep in mind to just be aware of the entire surface you're going to run on, and that'll prevent possible damage to your vehicle. So a lot of people, they want the ability to run anywhere. And so if you want an on-road car, there's something else you might want to consider is a rally car. A rally car could run on-road, and it could do some off-road as well. It could go into dirt and very low-cut grass, even some light gravel. So there's some versatility in rally cars. But really what a lot of people go and do is they move towards an off-road specific vehicle. Again, it's all up to your particular taste on what you really want to go with. Each type of vehicle has its advantages. Buggies like this one here tend to be really fast. This is particularly a racing buggy. So this is more for the track. Not saying you can't drive your vehicle in the backyard. Certainly you could go wherever you want to do. Some people like really high-end cars just go bash with. That's totally cool too. But buggies, they're a very versatile machine. They could pretty much go anywhere. They do jumps. They could drive through grass. Again, keep in mind the height of the grass. Really, with any machine, that grass causes friction, causes things to heat up, and it's always something to keep in mind. I've seen some people say, well, so-and-so told me I could run in grass and I burn something up. It all depends on the type of surface you run on. If it's causing too much resistance, things can happen. But typically with larger vehicles, it goes over the top of grass. It's really not too big of a deal. Just keep that in mind. People like monster trucks here. Monster trucks pretty much go anywhere through grass and mud and loamy dirt and stuff like that. They're a really great machine to think about. if you're looking for an all-around versatile vehicle. And then something else to also consider is the abrasiveness of the surface you're running on. Yeah, I said abrasiveness. So a lot of vehicles have pin-type tires. Some monster trucks, they have chevron treads, but a lot of trucks like this Revo, I have this set up with some pin spike tires, and then I've got this racing buggy here. It's got some really low profile pin tires on it. You know, this might work really well out on loamy surfaces. There won't be a lot of tire wear. With this particular vehicle right here, this is meant to be run on a racing surface, which is an abrasive surface, and it's acceptable for the tires to wear on there. But let's say you're going to have some fun and you've got a low profile tire on here and you're usually running in your backyard and you say, hey, I want to go out and run on the road. That road surface is a lot more abrasive than a loamy dirt. So when you go running on asphalt, what it's got to do is it's got to wear a pin tire down very quickly. So that's when you may want to consider going and buying a specific road tire if you do want to bounce back and forth with an off-road machine over to on-road. There's a lot of on-road tires that you could purchase for buggies and trucks and stuff like that. It's better to use a proper on-road tire than wear out your good off-road tires. Now, an additional thing to consider about taking your off-road vehicle on-road is the suspension. The suspension on off-road vehicles are tuned for off-road. They got a lot of travel, and with an on-road car, you don't have a lot of travel. It's typically a stiffer suspension. So when you're driving your off-road vehicle and you're going fast down the street and you make a turn, all that suspension is just going to collapse. The car is going to start to roll, and then the tires may grab, and then the truck flips over. Where an on-road car, you could probably go and whip that turn really fast, not worrying about backing off on the speed too much. So those are just some things to keep in mind. So now that you have a general idea of the surfaces that you could run different vehicles on, I want to talk about where to actually run your vehicle. So a lot of people, they use their vehicles in the backyard, and just be considerate about your surroundings. If you have a neighbor next door and you're running a nitro vehicle or whatever, you know, do you really want to upset your neighbor? Hey, it's up to you what you guys want to do. I'm just throwing it out there to be considerate of your surroundings. You know, so you could have a lot more fun with your vehicle if everybody else is minding their own business as well. Parking lots, similar thing. You go to a crowded parking lot where there's a lot of cars, people walking around, probably not the best spot to drive your RC car. Probably want to keep going, find a empty parking lot, drive your machine there. Now, I know a lot of people like to go to BMX tracks or even skate parks. I like to go to the BMX track. A lot of our videos are done at the BMX track. One thing to consider about those type of places, it's a BMX track. It's a skate park. Those people have the right of way. So when I go to the BMX track, I make sure nobody else is around, and then I go and drive my vehicle. If someone with a BMX bike does show up, I generally wait for them to do a few laps on the BMX track, and then I'll see if they only do a single section, and I'll go over to another section, and I'll just drive my vehicle over there. Or maybe sometimes I'll even approach them because I'm usually shooting video, and I say, hey, I'm shooting a video. Do you mind if I shoot it over there? So I'm out of your way, and usually people are pretty cool, but they do have the right of way. The BMX tracks are built for BMX bikes. Just keep that in mind as well. Just be aware of your surroundings, make sure everything's safe, and you'll have a lot more fun with your RC vehicle. All right, I hope that bit of general information cleared up some questions you had about where to drive your RC vehicle and what vehicles could go where. We, of course, have a lot more information to go over in our Get Into RC video series. We're going to get into some technical things later on. I know you guys have a lot of questions, a lot of ideas for future episodes, and please keep writing them in the comments. What I do is I write that stuff down. Definitely got to get to it at some point, guys, so please be patient. There's a lot of stuff to cover. And if you haven't done so yet, hey, click that subscribe button, throw me a like for this video. And of course, if you have a comment or a helpful tip to one of our new viewers, please throw it in the comment section below so they can get some more help getting into RC.